Please welcome our mayor, Buddy Dyer.
Good afternoon. I'm Mayor Buddy Dyer, and I'd like to welcome you to the August 29th regularly scheduled meeting of the Orlando City Council. We're going to begin today's proceedings with an invocation offered by Dr. James Wigton, pastor at Delaney Street Baptist Church, located at 1919 Delaney Avenue in District 1. Church has served the community from that location near Delaney and Wadeview Parks for 83 years. Dr. Wigton has been a pastor for 34 and has served Delaney Street Baptist for the last 4 years. He holds statewide office in the Florida Baptist Convention. And the invocation will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, which, you know what, Commissioner Ings, you want to try to do it by phone? Did you say yes? Okay, when you hear the pastor say amen, that's your cue, okay? All right, everybody stand, please.
Shall we pray? Dear Lord, we thank you for this day. And Lord, we thank you for protecting our city from the recent storm. We pray for the families affected all along the East Coast, for your blessing as they recover. And Lord, I pray for each leader here today for our city and for their families. We pray for wisdom and direction, as this is truly the Lord's work, as it's the people's work. We ask for your blessing in this meeting. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, will you call the roll, make a determination of quorum, please?
Commissioner Diamond?
Here.
Commissioner Ortiz?
Here.
Commissioner Stewart?
Here.
Commissioner Sheehan?
Here.
Commissioner Lineham?
Here.
Commissioner Ings? Mayor Dyer?
Here.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And I think everyone has figured out that Commissioner Ings is attending by phone, and he is in Detroit helping his wife through the passing of her mother. So our thoughts and prayers are with you, Commissioner, if you'd pass that on to June as well. Okay. Let's see. Minutes. Consideration of minutes from the August 15, 2011 Agenda Review and City Council meeting. Motion by Commissioner Lineham, second by Commissioner Sheehan. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? And so the motion carries. Awards, presentations, and recognitions. I actually didn't have any on the agenda, but I wanted to have the two chiefs highlight some stellar work done by the Orlando Police Department and the Orlando Fire Department, and I'd like to call on Chief Rooney to highlight some quick actions by OPD that led to the result of apprehending a bad guy and using just about every department in the force to do so.
Yes, we did. Thank you, Mayor, City Commissioners. Appreciate your time. We had a great case a couple weeks ago involving the 7-Eleven located at 1500 Edgewater Drive. And it was back-to-back robberies. But I don't want to take the credit for it. I actually want you to hear real quick from the officers, supervisors that were on scene that night. But just in a nutshell, we had the patrol officers respond, then we had K-9 track, then we had the Criminal Investigations Division, the sergeant and the detective roll out on scene. Then we actually got a crime line tip and a CST processed the scene. So it was great teamwork. It was like everything fell into place. So with that, I would like them to come up and kind of just run you through it very quick on how it all rolled out. Thank you. And we do have the K-9 that actually did the track here today. The dog is here, so he's on lead.
Good afternoon. My name is Sergeant Darren Eason. I'm currently assigned to the Robbery Division with Orlando Police. First off, thank you guys for having us here to explain to you real quick what all these folks were able to do. Like the chief said, these robberies went out over a 24-hour period of time. That store got robbed twice. And with the work of everybody to include Crime Line, we were able to find out it was the same person doing this twice. The very beginning, I'd like to introduce Officer Allison Clark and her sergeant, Sergeant John Bigelow. They were the first two that responded to the scene, and we'll go along with the PowerPoint presentation.
On August 19th at about 11:09, we were dispatched to a armed robbery in progress at the 7-Eleven. As the primary officer, when we respond, our responsibility is to set up a cordon or a perimeter and get out as much information as possible when we first arrive. Once we got there, the first thing we did was make sure that everybody was okay, that nobody was injured. We separated all the employees. There was 3 employees in the store. We separated all 3 and got a quick description of the suspect who had ultimately run out the back door. He had worn a mask, we got a clothing description, and he was also carrying about a 6-inch knife. Once I get all that information, I immediately put it out on the radio to all my assisting units sitting out on a cordon and get more detailed information that I can give to K-9 so they can start a track. But once we're there, we're responsible for protecting the scene, protecting any evidence, and relaying as much information to the other units as possible while we're there. And then once we remain on scene, we assist and brief CSTs, supervisors, and then ultimately CID when they respond. So we're there, we brief the robbery detectives on what we had, and then we assisted them further with their investigation.
Good afternoon. Once this call went out and I realized that my officers were taking care of the situation, I responded and noticed that the details were similar on the second robbery that matched the first robbery. And as K-9 Russell was doing her track near the 800 block of Guernsey, I was calling Sergeant Eason and his units and his detectives to come out and follow up on the investigation. All collectively, they did an outstanding job.
Good afternoon. This is Raptor. Raptor's been with the police department for about 5 years. And my name is Nicole Russell. On this day, we responded to 1500 Edgewater. I was briefed by the officers on scene. They gave me a description of the suspect and advised that he fled out the back door. I then deployed Raptor, brought him to the back door. He immediately began tracking northbound out of the parking lot. Instantly, we came to the northwest corner where he indicated on a black article of clothing. I advised Officer Clark that I believe this could possibly be the mask that the suspect was wearing. We then continued. Raptor began to pull me northbound across Langston Court, continued westbound through a vacant lot, and northbound onto Guernsey. We traveled eastbound on Guernsey, which is about the 700, 800 block, and he no longer had a track. At this point, I believed the suspect either left in a vehicle or could have been in a house. I continued an area search through the next few blocks. We came up with nothing. I later learned Officer Clark brought the clerk to the back where I had located the mask, where Raptor located the mask, and they advised this was the mask that was worn during the robbery. So definitely with Crime Line, this is what ultimately located the robber and made the arrest, but I believe it also could have been made with the mask that Raptor located, based on DNA or anything else. Thank you.
Okay, after K-9's track kind of dissolved in the 7 to 800 block of Guernsey, that's when the Criminal Investigations Division was called. I happened to be downtown anyways, so my response time was within minutes. Of course, driving the speed limit. Detective Rivas also was out in the city in the southwest sector, so I called him as the on-call. And we both met at the store, and we started to look at the entire case. What we knew immediately was that morning I had received 3 Crime Line tips from Barb Bergen. I'll let her, before I go into the Crime Line tips, I'll let her explain to you the purpose of Crime Line and how they get that information to us so quickly.
Mayor and Commissioners, this is a wonderful example of what Crime Line does daily in Central Florida, and it's rare that we get the opportunity to speak and tell everybody. Crime Line takes the media, the community, and law enforcement to be successful, and this is a wonderful point blank. That's what happened here. While that dog did find a mask, and there probably would have been some DNA, let's talk about how much we saved by getting 3 immediate tips that gave the bad guy's name. So that's what we do. We take anonymous tips. And there's one unique thing about this. 2 tips came in because of TV. 1 tip came in because of print media. 1 call actually came into another Crime Stopper program on the other side of the state and was immediately relayed to us because we speak every day. This just recently went to the Board of Directors and was considered all 3 tips helped solve this case and was again successful, and that's what we do every day. So thank you.
Thank you. We took those crime line tips. They were so similar. We did a little bit of research, and we ended up finding an address at 723 Guernsey. There it is. We took these leads, and it led us to 723 Guernsey, which happened to be 50 feet from where the dog stopped its track. I mean, it was amazing how close this dog got to the house where the suspect was later found. Detective Rivas and I'm going to bring him up and let him explain to you the ins and outs of the investigation, but Detective Rivas and I went through those crime line tips while at the store, and we got to that house on Guernsey before the suspect was even able to go to sleep after this second robbery occurred.
Good afternoon. Our job is kind of take all the information that's gotten from all these resources and kind of put it together like a puzzle. And so that was so good about this, because when we got to the scene, we knew about the crime line tips because we had gotten that from Barbara Bergen and her staff. We knew about the track that Nikki had done. We knew about everything that the suspect did inside the store that was similar to the day before, because Officer Clark had been there and gathered all that information. So based on all that information, we decided to make contact with the suspect at his residence. Once we did that, we talked to him, brought him down to the station. After speaking to him at the station, he cooperated with us. We were able to develop a case and develop probable cause on him. We found evidence and were able to close this case successfully because everybody came together to make an arrest and put him in jail.
He's not giving himself enough credit, I don't think. Detective Rivas was able to make contact with Joshua Fry. He cooperated, like he said, through the investigation, and which led to the probable cause for that night's incident. Through Detective Rivas' interviews and things like that, and the cooperation of the suspect, we were able to find similar fact evidence for the robbery that occurred 24 hours prior and charge him with that one as well. He was held in the jail on no bond status. He's still currently in the jail on no bond status. We did search his house. We found all the evidence we were looking for. After the mask had been recovered, we did find the hooded sweatshirt, the plastic bag, all the things that he used during this robbery. Nobody was hurt, and what we've done is we referred this case, because of the violent nature of it, we referred it to the ATF, and they contacted us Friday and said they are considering this one for prosecution, which is unique. Normally the ATF only takes cases involving firearms, but due to the level of violence and the weapon used, they said they're going to consider this one as well. So he's looking at a minimum of 50 years in prison if he's found guilty. This is the suspect here. This was the booking photo the evening of the second incident. Like it shows here, he was charged 2 counts of armed robbery with a mask. That's one of the photographs that we released to the media. When he jumped over the counter and came in there, you can see, I mean, it's very hard to identify anything. But because everybody here worked as a team, we were able to get him identified within 90 minutes of the incident. We knew exactly who he was and where he lived. And given that, you see that on a regular basis, and you would think, we have nowhere to go with this. But because of everything they did, that's why this man's in jail. And that knife there is obviously, that's not a butter knife. That's a serious weapon there. Just to show, I did a real quick map just to show the proximity. If you look down on the bottom right, you'll see the letter A. That's 1500 Edgewater. That's the actual store parking lot. And if you follow it north 1.5 blocks and then go west about 4 houses, you'll see the letter B. That's the suspect's house. So he ran farther going the opposite way than it would take him just to go directly home. And the way that he ran is exactly the track that the canine took them on. During his post-interview and his cooperation with us, we learned that he ran exactly the way the dog went. That's all I have for that case. Is there any questions?
Well, Chief, I always say that we have the best police department in the entire state of Florida, and that's a great example of great police work, using the tools and technology that you have. I guess we would call Raptor a tool of the department.
Absolutely.
And then the great brain power of all the men and women. And it's nice to know that the community's involved in the policing too with the crime line. Tell you what, let me come down there and get a picture with the team.
Great.
Mayor, I do have one comment. And everybody knows I like the TV shows. And I think since we can't do cold case on this one, since it's not cold, I would like to refer you, Chief, to 48 Hours. I think that's a great one, to walk it through the process the way it's been done, and I'm going to look for it on TV. We don't do everything
I
on
agree.
TV. Yeah, you do? Okay.
I agree.
I don't know whether it goes to that level, but 48 Hours is perfect. Animal Planet. Whatever. This is a TV program right now. And since I'm making the recommendation, I may want to produce it or something. Or executive producer, I don't know, but that's a great one.
Just lastly, if I could, we got some great news this morning, and it involves one of your commissioners. When he was employed with the Orlando Police Department, he investigated a sexual battery case back in 1998.
Is that a cold case?
And he knew who the suspect was. He identified a suspect, and today we got word that they got a DNA hit on this suspect. He was living out in Missouri. So, of course, Commissioner Ortiz is going to be coming to testify pretty soon here. But I thought that was a great story, too. We're not perfect. I know we're not. We make mistakes. But thanks for giving us the opportunity to show you what kind of work we can do.
But that's another TV show. It's called Cold Case.
There you go. There you go. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. All right, now not to be outdone by the police department, our OFD had some courageous action a couple of weeks ago. And the chief's going to highlight the actions of some brave firefighters who battled a fire and saved 2 lives.
Mm-hmm.
Mayor, not to be outdone by the police dog, Chief Rooney always seems to, it's either a horse, a dog, he brings something out to steal a show. But thank you for the opportunity, Mayor and Commissioners, to introduce some gentlemen to you that I think are true heroes, and I think you know. I would hope that your comment after we finish is to talk about the Orlando Fire Department the way you do the police department, which I know you do at all times. But the truth is, August 17th of this year, just about 10 days ago, there was a fire at Lake Underhill, Commissioner Ortiz's district, Lake Underhill Apartments off of Cimarron and Lake Underhill. And it came in as a kitchen fire. These gentlemen are at Station 11, which is at Curry Ford and Gaston Foster, so it's a good ways away from the station. Started off as your typical kitchen fire and evolved as the call was being received, evolved and turned into a fully involved fire to 2-story apartments. Flames were showing from all sides and came in as there were some people entrapped. So the crews, this particular crew is from Tower 11 on A shift, and I will tell you there was about 25 firefighters on that scene. This particular crew just happened to be the gentleman that pulled these victims out, which I'll tell you a little more about, but there were a lot of players in this thing, and when they arrived on the scene to see that fully involved and knowing that there was victims potentially inside, we work in a multi-task approach. We have one crew that's taking the hand line to go in and try and extinguish the fire and hold the fire in check so that crews can go inside, which are these crews, and work from the inside and the outside. Some go through the front door, in which this was an older style apartment, had 2 front doors, both heavily involved, no way to make entry in. So the hose line crew made that advancement. They also throw ladders to the second floor windows, bail into the windows to make searches of the bedrooms. They close the door quickly, try to search the bedrooms if they can, if the fire is not too involved. So that happened on this night. Hose lines went in the front door. Crews were quickly searching the apartment. They were reported of 2 people inside. I can't get into the details due to HIPAA and such, but there was a mother and a daughter, and there was some issues involved with that. They stayed in. These men risked their lives, went inside the apartment without the assist of a hand line, found the first victim unconscious, not breathing very well. They quickly removed her from the unit where there was an OFD rescue transport unit, as you know we're doing now, that quickly took this patient, did the ALS care, and immediately went to the hospital. They immediately went back into the apartment, brought out the second victim, and this victim was not breathing, unconscious and not breathing. So immediately removed that person. Outside, another unit was awaiting, did the advanced life support. I'm happy to tell you at this point that they are still alive. They're in critical care condition, but without the efforts of these men and all the crews that are at the scene, we had some great chief officers directing the crews. We had great crews, like I said, the rescue truck doing their job, the engine with water on the fire, getting the hydrants, a multitask approach to this thing. We do great things every day. You don't hear about it. I mean, just last week we did an award at Station 1 for a city employee who was at his home and had a cardiac arrest. He'd been with the city for 10 or 11 years. He sent us a letter, and we did a little ceremony at Station 1. They actually did CPR, initiated shocks on him, and were able to revive him, and he's back to work today as a result of that. I get letters all the time, but I really thought it was important to introduce these men. And like I said, there's many behind them, but these are the gentlemen. They're the most humble guys you'll ever meet. They don't want to be here. They, like most firefighters, do their job. This is what they do. They don't want recognition. This is what they live for, is to go in there when everybody's running out, to go in and against all odds try to save lives. And so I know it costs money to provide fire service, and it's but you'll know when it's your turn, and many have experienced that. When that 911 call comes in, you want your people to be there on time, of which they were very timely getting to the scene. You want them to know what they're doing and to be heroic in their actions to try and save your loved one or possibly yourself. And I'd like to introduce these gentlemen to you now. This is Lieutenant Mike Stallings. Mike, how long have you been on? About 18? 15 years. Firefighter Chris McKeon's been on about, what, four years. Firefighter Brian Pierce, who gets promoted to engineer later this week. How many years, Brian? 9 years. And firefighter Matt Herford has been on 15 years. I know they're as healthy as horses, look like they're just young guys, but most of them are getting close to my age in their 40s. So I just wanted to bring them up here to you today to introduce you to. Like I said, behind them are 500 other employees that do a fantastic job for you every day, but they happen to be there when the time was needed, and they did the job. So
Well, let's give them Commissioner Sheehan, a comment? Oh, Commissioner Lynham.
Well, I was on from before, but anyway, Mayor and Chief, I have a new TV program, and we can do firefighters. I haven't seen one of those on yet, but I'm willing to consult with you to put together something that, guys, I think we can do this thing just right, and because I get letters every week about the things you do, and I'm very, very thankful. But we can go from real, life-saving things to the meals that you prepare. That would be a good idea. I really like that for a movie. Thank you very much for your service. I'm very, very proud of you.
Well, and Mayor, Commissioner Lynham and I actually went through fire ops training together, and I know how hard it is to find a victim in a room, and I'd like to, if y'all remember Commissioner Lynham, I was crawling along the wall according to training. Commissioner Lynham walked in, tripped over the first victim, and fell on the baby on the couch.
I found the baby.
Within 20 seconds, and I'm following training, and of course I found nothing. But it's so hard to see anybody, and it's so scary, and unless you've been through that training and can relate to the fact that you can't see anything in a smoke-filled room, and how hard that is. And I want to thank you very much, and I know it was a disabled child and her mother who would not leave that child. Y'all are just amazing, so thank you.
And Chief, I said the police department, best in the state. I'll say you're one of the very best in the entire country, and I think everybody knows the stats. 48,000 fire departments. There are 62 that are ISO rated 1, and our Orlando Fire Department is one of those 62. So you think about that. That's just barely one department per state that's an ISO 1. So I think we're all proud of that. And I like to use the stat about cardiac saves, that you're 4 or 5 times more likely to have your life saved in a cardiac event if you're in Orlando than the national average. So that's a fact that I've said at a lot of neighborhood meetings, and people reflect on, oh, that's why you spend all that much money on the fire department.
Well, it's important. You can have the best equipment, the best facilities, and the best training, but if you don't have these men and women to go out there and do the job, and you don't have anything. And very
You're
proud
right.
of them.
I want to
Extremely.
come down to
Thank
the
you.
picture.
And while the mayor is going down, Commissioner Sheehan told about our firefighting experience. But I was in that overfire thing, and my knees are real bad. I got stuck. So I had to tell the firefighter behind me, I said, baby, push me. He was like, nothing, there was nothing in his face but my butt. So I said, baby, push my butt right on out of here. That was Bernie. I thought I saw him a minute ago.
I wasn't going to tell
That's
that
my
part, Commissioner.
favorite firefighter, because he just pushed me right beyond that fire. Nothing in his face but my butt. It was smaller then.
I want to tell the bad story.
That was terrible. I thought I saw Bernie. That wasn't Bernie, it was Steve. Steve Sims. Great reports.
Doesn't that just make you proud of our fire department and our police department here? That's stuff that occurs all the time and goes unrecognized, so
Absolutely.
we appreciate them so much.
Bernie.
John, you get to follow that. How about that? We have one item on the consent agenda that I wanted to go ahead and highlight, and the development of the Creative Village is incredibly important to our city, and our development partner, the Creative Village Development, is responsible for hiring a contractor to demolish the building and oversee the demolition, and the agenda item today relates to that. And they're going to seek to have LEED neighborhood status. It's LEED NV, is that
D, yep.
ND neighborhood. So every aspect of the development, not just the building of the buildings, we are working with Creative Village to determine the greenest way, most sustainable way to go about the individual components. And one of the ways was to do, in essence, a green demolition. So the building is actually going to be taken apart piece by piece, and the aluminum and copper from the building is going to be sold, recycled, and the proceeds from that will be given to the Knapp Ford School. And then the remainder, the concrete, will be broken up in, I guess, softball-sized chunks. And the Amway Center, the floor is actually below grade. It's about 8 or 10 feet below grade. So the concrete will be stored on the floor of the Amway Center and then will be reused for infrastructure, mainly the roads, as we redo the Creative Village. And I wanted John to get more in depth because it's kind of a cool concept that through demolition you'd actually do it in a sustainable way. So John.
Great. Thank you, Mayor. Not only have to compete with the police department and the fire department, I have to compete with the mayor, too, for my own presentation. So good afternoon, everybody. It's good to be up here talking to you about a pretty exciting project. Creative Village, as you all are very intimately aware, was something that was conceived several years ago, finally came kind of into fruition in 2010 when the RFP was issued, and ultimately Creative Village Development LLC was the selected development team that's going to be kind of taking the charge in that project. And that agreement was passed back this spring. And so this becomes kind of the first tangible piece of this overall development that could take upwards of a couple of decades to finally come to fruition. But this will be the first physical change that we'll see when ultimately the Amway Arena will finally begin to come down later this year. So just kind of some particulars of the overall agreement, a lot of what the mayor spoke to. The city over the last several months was in the process of decommissioning the Amway Arena. This has included things we've done 2 auctions that have removed a lot of material there. We've gotten rid of a lot of the chemicals and that sort of thing. Really just getting it ready to convey over to CVD for the preparation of the demolition. The MDA also stipulated that the city would provide $2 million towards that demolition. So this basically just kind of comes up with the terms and conditions in terms of how that process is going to happen. CVD will be responsible for hiring the contractors and going out for competitive bid, and as the mayor's spoken, this will be a portion of those proceeds will also go back to Knapp Ford School. So there's some benefit there. And then lastly, the MDA. This will also comply with Chapter 57, the MBE program, as well as the Blueprint program. Some good benefits there. So just some more details in terms of why we're doing this two-stage process and kind of the greening components of it. This will be one of the first LEED ND projects in the Southeast United States. And so LEED ND stands for New Development, as the mayor said. We've done LEED projects for buildings specifically. LEED ND really looks at the buildings, but it also looks at the entire neighborhood in terms of walkability, the infrastructure, the energy sources, the transportation, and that's kind of how Sunrail and the BRT, the limo expansion, all these things begin to kind of play into that overall vision. And so stage one will comprise of bringing the entire building down, and a lot of it will be recycled and hauled off site, and the concrete will be crushed and stored temporarily on site. And then as the road infrastructure is developed throughout the neighborhood, that crushed concrete will be utilized for the roadbed for those projects. And so instead of spending the $750,000 or $1,000 to $1 million for the transportation and disposal costs, that money can be saved and then reutilized for the material that's needed for those road projects. And so it also mentions that there's a potential interim condition, and so there's some different responsibilities associated with that, just in case the timing does not quite mesh well what's kind of intended, just to ensure that the site looks aesthetically pleasing throughout all times of the construction process. And then no later by 2016, the remainder of the building will have to be demolished. And primarily that really involves the streetscape, the floor, which is about 10 feet below grade, and then some other kind of ancillary infrastructure that's kind of associated with the site. So just to give you kind of a brief overview, this is kind of what the site looks like today. This is the potential interim condition. You can see that it's kind of turfed over there and looks like a bowl. And this just kind of gives you an overview in terms of what's going to be demolished in the first phase, which is everything in red, and then just kind of the minor components that will be demolished in the second phase. I think another notable point, too, is there's a 9-foot tall stormwater pipe directly below the building, and so extra care is certainly needed to ensure the safety of that pipe as it drains a good portion of all of downtown, in fact. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them, but that's kind of the overall as to what's going to be happening over the next several months.
Questions or comments, Commissioner Lineham?
Yes, Mayor and Council, just a few items. I think 5 years to move this is too long. During that 5 years, we're going to still be paying down our debt service on this. That's a lot of money. I didn't see any interim programs in between now and then. We've already gone 2 years. I support Creative Village, but I certainly don't support waiting 5 years to finish up that demolition. And I didn't see any benchmarks that move you along the way unless I missed them.
Right. The 2016 date is actually a specific date that's called for in the Master Development Agreement, and that is the end of the infrastructure phase. And so really what we did is try to tie it to that date because that's the ultimate date in terms of when the road network and the infrastructure needs to take place. So the kind of the intent for delaying it in this time frame is to ensure that aesthetically it looks pleasing, absolutely, but also being able to utilize the material that's being derived out of the building. And so ideally everything will happen significantly faster than that 2016 date. But per the condition or the master development agreement, that date already exists, and this is kind of an intent to make sure that those two issues could be addressed.
I know, but you didn't say up to 2016. You said at that time, and I believe whether it's aesthetically pleasing or not, to just point blank have no benchmarks to measure anything by up until that time. Just disturbs me, and I certainly will not support it if we're going to look at 5 years to complete demolition.
Okay. Well, let me just point out one other component then. So on this graph that you can see here, this is a sectional view. So this is kind of looking at the building horizontally. Everything in red will be removed within 6 months of the start of demolition. So everything above ground will be demolished. And it'll actually bring it to about 10 feet below ground. So what will happen is just the concrete floor will be left remaining, so something that you can't see from below. In the unlikely event that this material is not used immediately, then there will be an interim condition of making it look like this. So truly making the intent of having it look as aesthetically pleasing as possible until
So
the
we go to a green fill at some point, as soon as everything off top is moved, stored below ground. How do you store that below ground and protect it at the same time?
Great question. So there's the concrete floor, so that protects it from below, so it's not going to permeate into the soil. Then what will happen, my understanding, is that there's going to be a fabric that's placed on top of the material, and then the soil will be put on top of that. So the soil is not going to commingle with the debris and polluting it. So it can easily be removed back off and when they need to utilize the material.
I think, Mayor and Commissioners, if I may respond, I think if we'd had some incremental projects in between, some benchmarks, I would have found it far more pleasing. But to just vote and say you've got 5 years to clean that site, I just find that just so unappealing. I think it's just almost in-your-face arrogance for us to do. I feel very uncomfortable with that.
Well, Commissioner, the plan is to develop it in phases. So some of the materials we use to straighten Livingston right off the bat, because we got that Tiger II grant, which is $10 million, and then matched with $2 million, and the RFP for that we voted on, I think it was last meeting or the meeting before that. So that'll go before Lynx, and that contract's going to be awarded in January, I believe, at the Lynx meeting. So materials from the building will be utilized for the road bed and the straightening of that road as well. So it'll start using it, and the notion was to straighten Livingston, and then phase one would be the area that is south of Livingston that'll have the 3 or 4 academic buildings, I guess. So hopefully those will be under construction, but there would be a phase 2 or maybe 3 where you would continue to develop other parts of the road network as you go in other phases.
That's correct, Mayor. So the intent is certainly not to have it be in your face. The intent was to make it as aesthetically pleasing as possible in the event that some of those portions were delayed, absolutely.
I think aesthetically it's fine. It's just the time frame to say we can sit on this for 5 years. It doesn't mean you will. You're saying you won't, but that is not indicated in any kind of benchmark, and that's my concern.
Commissioner Diamond.
Thank you, Mayor. You know, as much as I like the idea of having a green neighborhood over there, and as much as I like the idea of the recycling, and as much as I like the idea of making a contribution to the school over there, I agree with Commissioner Lineham as far as the timetable, and I think a lot of what we're hearing about is distracting from the bottom line here, which is that we've got close to $100 million of debt. And the proceeds from this sale or from this land, we're supposed to pay that debt. And until that debt is paid, the city's got to pay interest, which is millions of dollars a year. So I really have a problem with waiting 5 years to see this demolition get done. I think it's too long. I think if it's 5 years, that means that property's not going to get redeveloped and sold. At the same time, the Bob Carr is not going to be ready for redevelopment before that time, and I'm not quite sure really where that leaves us, except to say that I'm concerned we're going to have a lot of debt and paying a lot of expense to keep that debt. And I think that's debt and interest we just can't afford. So I'm not going to support this either. Thank you.
Anybody else? Thank you, John. Thank you, Mayor. All right, we will move right into my update. And unfortunately, I'm going to begin, honoring a few people. Not unfortunately. It's unfortunate that we've had several folks that are important to our city that have passed away since the last meeting, and I just want to honor and remember a few of those. We spoke at our last meeting about the passing of Pastor Zachary Timms, and many of us attended his funeral services last week, and his good work will certainly live on through the thousands of lives that he's impacted in Central Florida. I gave one of the eulogies earlier today for Curtis Stanton, who was the general manager of the OUC for over 36 years. Think about that, what an impact he had on our community. And He's responsible for that billion-dollar company over there growing to just what it is. And he also, Commissioner Sheehan, was instrumental in the original creation of the Linton Allen Fountain at Lake Eola. So he's certainly remembered as well. Commissioner Ings, we were saddened to hear the loss of your mother-in-law, Jeannie Dolores Williams, and I'm told she was one of 8 children, mother of 6, and foster mother to eventually more than 12 children. So you were in our thoughts and prayers. And then finally, I just learned this morning that Scott Harris, the veteran journalist with Channel 13, passed away this morning. He had been battling kidney cancer for several months, and he was one of the, I think, more informed and diligent journalists that we have had in Orlando. So if we can just take a moment of silence to remember all of these folks. Thank you. Our thoughts and prayers go out to all the families and friends of the people that I just mentioned. I want to congratulate our Orlando City Lions, who had a 3-0 win over the weekend to advance to the USL Pro Championship game. So they will be hosting, well, I don't know who they'll be hosting, but they'll be hosting, well, they beat Richmond. Anyways, they're playing somebody for the championship on Saturday, and to be in the first year in the league and to play so well. You know, they beat Newcastle when they came over, and I saw that the owner or the coach suggested that he thought they could beat many of the MSL teams with the squad that they have now. So good luck, and you can get tickets for that game. They start at $12, so it's a good value. Last Friday, August 19th, OPD participated in the annual Kicks for Guns, 13th year that they have done that. They collected 135 guns, and 2,230 guns were collected across the region, including 48 illegal guns, 10 stolen, and 2 guns with silencers. We've been successful in reducing street crime throughout our community, and now it's time to turn attention to the crime that goes on behind closed doors. Last week, we launched a program called It Takes Courage to Reduce Incidents of Domestic Violence. We are partnering with Harbor House to educate our community on how to recognize signs of domestic violence. I want to invite everyone, residents, visitors, to join our city commissioners, the Orlando Fire Department, the Orlando Police Department on Sunday, September 11th for a candlelight memorial service at Lake Eola Park to honor the victims of 9/11. OFD, OPD Honor Guards, and the firefighters, pipes, and drum corps will lead the 10th anniversary tribute, and we will have a memorial march to Fire Station 1. We have budget hearings that will be at our next 2 commission meetings on the September 13th and the 20th. And with that, we will move on to the consent agenda. And the consent agenda is a number of items acted upon through a single vote of council. We give each of our commissioners an opportunity to comment on the consent agenda and generally update you on items from their district. And we'll begin with you, Commissioner Ings.
And
Thank you, Commissioner. We'll move to District 1. Commissioner Diamond.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I'd like to pass on my condolences and thoughts to you, Commissioner Ings, and June as well. I was very sorry to hear about the loss of your mother-in-law. Please know that we're thinking about you, and you're in our thoughts and prayers. I also wanted to comment on Scott Harris. A lot of people didn't even know the condition he was in, and I think a lot of people are just very sad to hear about Scott. He was a real gentleman, a very talented reporter, and I know he'll be missed. Curtis Stanton, what a career, what a life he had. I was at the services as well today, and Mayor, I enjoyed your eulogy. I thought it was very nice, and I thought it was a very nice tribute to Mr. Stanton. And also, last week, I think it was, I attended the funeral for Reverend Zachary Timms, and I wanted to pass along my wishes to his family and friends and congregation as well. A couple of events I wanted to comment on. Commissioner Ortiz, hats off to you, and Juan Triana and all the people out on Cimarron Boulevard. They're really doing a lot of great things, and you had a terrific cleanup on Saturday, and just great job all around to everybody. So congratulations on that. Like Commissioner Ings, I'd also like to express my compliments and thanks to all the people on the Redistricting Advisory Board, the chairman, co-chairman, and all the members, as well as the staff. I think everybody, I've been to several of the meetings, and I think everybody on there is doing a very nice job. It's good to see citizens participating. I think the board seems to be very receptive to citizen comment, and I think they're doing a nice job so far, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what they ultimately recommend. But as far as the meetings and the process, I've been very impressed, so thank you to everybody involved in that. Also, I wanted to pass along thanks and congratulations to the folks in our traffic engineering department, Public Works, Charles Ramdat and Frank Consoli, and everybody else who's been working on, or maybe I need to say who worked on, the Anderson Street project between Boone Avenue and Orange Avenue. It's just amazing how quickly that got done. It seems like it went very smoothly, and I think it's going to be a big help as far as getting people, helping people drive east on Anderson Street, whether they might be leaving the new arena or the City Hall garage or wherever. I think it's going to be a big help as far as clearing out the backlog, and I just want to congratulate and thank them for that much-needed road project. Also, a couple of things coming up in the district. First of all, Cimarron Boulevard did it last Saturday, so September 10th, the Conway Community Council is going to have a cleanup in the Conway area, and the meeting place for that is going to be 9 o'clock at Conway Methodist Church. I know everybody's welcome, and hopefully it'll be a little bit cooler than it was this past Saturday, and hopefully a lot of people will turn out and help clean up that area as well. So thanks to them for putting that together. And then last, tonight, it's actually in District 4, not District 1, but at the Beardall Center, starting at 6:30, there's going to be an open house, and at 7 o'clock, a meeting to talk about some of the proposals for the north-south extension of the downtown circulator limo service that may someday hopefully run between Florida Hospital and Orlando Regional Hospital, and even a little further south than that. And then that would hopefully connect with the east-west lines that we're going to have going from Paramore to Thornton Park and back, as well as the existing line and the other line that's going to run on the west side of I-4 between Creative Village and the new arena. So I'd encourage everybody to come out and be part of that meeting tonight. So hopefully we'll have a good turnout, and that's all I have, Mayor.
Let's move to District 2. Commissioner Ortiz.
Thank you, Mayor. Let me start by echoing the words of my fellow commissioners, and especially with you, Commissioner Ings. Please accept my sincere condolences in the loss of your mother-in-law. Same goes for the family of Mr. Scott Harris. I mean, for families, yeah, close friends and relatives, and Mr. Stanton. Let me begin by thanking you, Mayor Buddy Dyer, for taking the time out of your busy schedule this past Saturday and coming out and working with us and Commissioner Diamond. It was a hot day, but it was a lot of fun. I also want to thank Commissioner Louis Damiani and State Representative Darren Soto, who were also there cleaning up the Cimarron corridor, the main gate to the region from the airport. I want to especially thank Keep Orlando Beautiful for providing the materials, code enforcement officers, solid waste, the Orlando Police Department for being there, Lieutenant Waters, the Sergeant, Officer Eddie Rosado, officers from the Sheriff's Office that were there too, working with us. It was a great event. Kudos to Mr. Juan Triana and the Cimarron Business Partnership Board of Directors. They put up a great event. It was a little hot, but it was a great show of how the government, community, businesses can work together and make things happen. It all started as a dream, it became a vision, and now it's a reality. People are really working together. I want to thank Ms. Pauline Eaton for the great presentation she gave to the Cimarron Business Partnership members on August 18th. We're very excited to hear all the benefits and that the Market Street designation are going to bring. Where is she? Is she here? No, she's not here today, but thank you, Pauline. You're doing a great job. And thank you for what you're doing with the Cimarron Business Partnership. Is really moving along. We have over 60 members already, to include Greater Orlando Aviation Authority, the universities, we have the schools, we have churches. So there's a little revolution going on in the Southeast, and we're happy to have it. I want to once again, hats off to our guys with the fire department. They're heroes, and they continue to be heroes. On the day of this tragedy, they called me immediately, and there's some other things that transpire that, of course, we cannot disseminate because of the nature of the people involved. But these guys really put their lives in jeopardy, and going out there, and they don't think about themselves. And I know that feeling from my past law enforcement experience, but the way they do this, they go into harm's way, and they think about those who are in real needs, and that's not something that comes from just becoming a firefighter. That's something that comes from the heart. Having the heart is almost like God designates his people to be firefighters, and they do a great job. So kudos to them once again. On August 19th, and I'm echoing the mayor's words again, we had the annual Kicks for Guns event this year on District 2. We had the Orlando Baptist Church as a drop-off location, and as the mayor said, we had 135. We collected 135 guns, 24 BB guns, and region-wise, 2,230 guns were collected. So thank you to Barbara Bergen and Chief. Thank you for your hard work and for the initiative. This is a great initiative, and it's really helping our community. Also, on the 19th, I attended the National Federation of Puerto Rican Pioneers welcoming luncheon at the Casa de Puerto Rico. On the same day, I also attended a Brazilian business fair with the mayor, and I want to thank both organizations for their hospitality. They were both great events. Also, last Wednesday, I attended the Dominican Cultural Week kickoff event at the public library. I want to thank Mr. Victor Toribio. It was a great event. Also, there was a mayor from Winter Garden, and it was really well put together. So I want to thank them and congratulate them for such event. Last Thursday, I attended La Prensa newspaper's 30th anniversary function. I heard that more than 500 people were there. And great event too. I want to congratulate Mrs. Dora Toro, her husband who long passed away. They've done a great job, and they have been pioneer of the Spanish newspaper in town. So kudos to them, and congratulations, and the best of luck for their future endeavors. And Chief, that was a great job of the guys out there catching that gentleman, and thank you for the news about that gentleman caught after 13 years. There's something to be said about OPD, and of course, is many times he goes without being said, but looking at the history of OPD is almost like a university where you go to do your master's or PhD. They prepare you for future careers. They truly do. We had people that have retired after being chiefs or captains, and they have become attorneys, and then some others have become chiefs in other places. So OPD personnel is high on demand out there. So congratulations once again. Thank you. That's all I have.
Let's move on to District 3, Commissioner Stewart.
Thank you, Mayor. And let me also say, Sam, our condolences go to you from Ann and I and to you and June. We've gone through those challenges before, and just know that our prayers are with you. And also our condolences go to Curtis Stanton and his family, and of course Scott Harris. Curtis, when you're around Orlando for as long as we have been in our family, Kurt is a friend of ours, and not just an icon. And Mayor, I appreciate the kind words that you have said, and had a chance to share some stories about Mr. Stanton. I could never call him Kurt, but Mr. Stanton and the work that he's done, and just the way he has conducted himself professionally, both for the 36 years at OUC and since then continuing to support our community through his work with the Rotary Club and the many things he did. So Scott Harris is one of those really neat guys in our community that I think understood our community. He's a graduate of Edgewater High School, and rode on the crew team there, was on the first crew team at Edgewater High School. Just a really neat guy who began to understand about our community. So I think it's why he's endeared himself, is that he had never intended on leaving our community and wanted to make it a better place as a reporter. So I appreciate your kind words. Let me cover a couple of things going on in the district first. A special thank you to the Lake Orlando Homeowners Association and the students over at Rosemont Community Center. A couple of weeks ago, we had an opportunity to work along Cinder Lane and Long Road, paint some walls over there, and really spruce it up. I want to say thank you to our staff that was involved in that, as well as thank you to the leadership over there, Kathy Nobles, and that leadership at Lake Orlando's Homeowners Association. In addition to that, thank you to our solid waste people. They came by over and helped us clean up some of the landscaping debris that we had kind of created trying to paint the walls, and I appreciate them stepping up and helping us with that. We've heard about the redistricting meetings, and of course, Sam has mentioned the last one in the community will be tomorrow evening over in District 6. And let me encourage those who are involved from our community to please share your opinions with the committee. They'll begin pretty serious deliberation very soon, and then we'll get a chance to see what their result is. I'm excited about the people who have attended. They've been thoughtful. It's been well attended, but people who they disagree on some of the issues. They have conducted themselves professionally and an honor to our citizens and to our city. So I thank you for that. Lou Garden's Date Night Movies coming up September 2nd. The movie starts at 8:30. We'll move up to 7:30 pretty soon as the fall comes in. It'll be warm, so please come on over and enjoy that. And of course, those of you who had a chance to watch Edgewater High School on Saturday didn't do quite as well as we would like for them to do up in Georgia. But their home opener is this weekend over Edgewater High School in part of the newly refurbed campus over there. A special meeting's coming up a week from, I guess 2 weeks from today, Monday, September 12th, College Park Neighborhood Association is hosting a special College Park Public Schools update. They've asked us to come and participate, and we'll get a chance to learn about what's going on in Princeton, Lake Silver, Lee, and Edgewater. And it's a great opportunity to be supportive of our schools. I appreciate the work that Nancy Robinson is doing over there, and a chance to share with the community about what's going on. On to the agenda items, let me share just a couple of things real briefly. Item A3 is for us to confirm some appointments to the boards. I want to say a special thanks to 3 of our District 3 representatives that have been on the list today. Joe Robertson, who is a longtime College Park resident, Picton Warlow, and Brooke Myers. Of course, Picton has been around forever, and this is the community forever. And is just a wonderful advocate of our community. And of course, Harold Warren is a reappointment. I mention those names often because this is what we do as a city, is that our communities gets involved, and this is one way they can get involved, and I so much appreciate their work. And then I-7 today, I mentioned one thing particularly, and we have talked about this for about 2 years. That's the work that we're going to be doing over at Guernsey Park. I appreciate the work that Jim Hunt and his staff have done. We're now getting ready to work on that project, and I hope pretty soon the second project over there in Ivanhoe Plaza. Both of those are important drainage projects to help us clean up our lakes and clean up our community, and I appreciate the work that they have done so far, and I especially appreciate the way they've engaged the community and listened to the community and involved in what they're doing. So, and that's all that I have, Mayor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner. We'll move to District 4. Commissioner Sheehan.
Thanks, Mayor, and I'd like to echo everyone's condolences to Sam and June Ings at the loss of her mother, and it's no wonder she gave so much to her community while she had such a great and wonderful daughter. So we definitely, extend condolences. And Scott Harris, just a consummate journalist, true professional, and really set the tenor at Channel 13, and he will be greatly missed. Curtis Stanton, the Lake Eola fountain will be a lasting legacy. He traveled and saw a fountain and wanted to have one in our own city, and that's just a lasting legacy that will always be here because of Curtis Stanton. Last week we had a little thank you for all the donors that gave money for the Lake Eola fountain. Speaking of Lake Eola fountain, and the pieces were beautiful, Mayor. Thank you so much, and commissioners for participating and for being part of such an important thing of restoring that fountain that's so important as an icon of our city. So thank you for participating in that as well. Just as an update, commissioners, last week I went to the Florida Forever funding meeting in Tallahassee. That's for the 5 parcels on Washington Street. We put a $3 million down payment on it. We still owe $5.5 million on that. And Representative Geraldine Thompson accompanied us to Tallahassee. And I have to tell you, Representative Thompson is just something else. Not only did she get us in there, because if you go with a representative, you get moved to the front of the line, which is nice, because there's a lot of people trying to jockey for that funding. Not only that, she just gave such an amazing presentation, prepared in the car, and talked about the historic, historic issues at the park, and we ended up getting 2 out of a possible 10 additional points for historic preservation, where we had gotten none because of Representative Thompson. And unfortunately, we didn't tee it up for her very well, because we had talked about tearing down the historic Mott House, which was the most historic parcel. So if we hadn't basically cut the legs out from under her by putting that in the report, we probably would have gotten all 10 points. She did such a great job, but we got 2 of 10 points there. I spoke about economic disadvantaged communities, about how the children at Reeves Terrace use the playground and really avail themselves of that part. We got 5 of 10 possible points for an extra 7 points. So we went from 21st to 17th in ranking. 14 were funded, so we're in really good place for next year, because they're not going to be accepting any more applications. So any leftover money, we'd be at the top of the list for next year. So I really want to thank Representative Thompson, the Family Parks and Recreation staff for going and being there to answer questions. But we really did, I think we could have done a little bit better. I always think we could have gotten a few more points here, but we're in a pretty good place to possibly get, the extra 3.5 that we need from them, and then we'd have to match that. So just want to give you a little bit of an update on what's happening there. And I know a lot of people think, well, that's already been resolved. We decided to buy the parcel. Well, we still have to come up with the money. So any money that we can get out of Florida Forever, would be definitely helpful, and we'll do whatever we can to make sure that our delegation supports us in that. On the agenda today for Area C, we're getting on item V4, the land transfer from the Department of Interior for the smaller parcel. And the Navy will retain responsibility for any pre-existing environmental conditions, but that's actually just to round out the lakefront property there at Area C. And item C5 on the Orlando Amtrak Historic Train Station. I'm delighted to see the sensitivity, historic preservation, and the building being used for the new technology. And that's all I had, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner, and we'll now go to District 5. Commissioner Lynham.
Thank you. Just a few announcements. I want to say a real special thanks to you, Mayor Dyer, for representing us at Pastor Tim's, Dr. Tim's funeral. I thought your words of comfort were superb, and the resolution signed by all the commissioners. I did receive a text from Pastor Riva saying a real special thanks on either Friday or Saturday. And for the work of our police department, worked at their very best, and I think I mentioned that to the chief earlier, to see them there doing what they have to do to make it easy for all of us to get in and get out. I was just very, very proud. of you. Thank you very much. And of course, today I was very proud of you guys. I was serious about that TV program. And Orlando Fire Department, we get our reports every week regarding things in our district. So when they come up with the unique reports, we read them every week, and it makes your heart proud. But again, I want to say thanks to OPD for the work you're doing in District 5 and code enforcement. That's Mike Rhodes, especially. I call him about 10 times a day. And Shasta, who's over in my district. Really appreciate the work we're doing. And I want other people to join in with me. When I'm out walking, I pull up those obnoxious signs that create more litter. Now, I don't mind looking at signs during a campaign. It's kind of a race, like who has the most signs. But those things that telling you about the lawyer who lives in Sanford, all over your right-of-way, it just isn't right. Charging people money to redo their mortgages. There's just something wrong with it, and it litters the community. So I'll ask everyone, when you're out walking or even riding, just take a moment and remove some of those obnoxious signs. And I'm asking code enforcement, Mayor, to go after these people. Let's charge them for every sign they put out to litter, and code enforcement has to pick up. Thank you on that one. Now, this morning, I was well, let me do this about the sympathies. I know everybody think we're just redundant when we do this, but we each have personal relationships with people who may have passed on. In Curtis Stanton, we were talking about the fountain, but I think about the Stanton plant, and I remember him when I was a very young person, and I really appreciated his contribution to this community. And June's mother, Jeannie Williams, same name as my mother, just spelled differently. And I told Commissioner Eanes that as he was leaving. So we certainly express our condolences. I thought Scott Harris, of all the reporters, sorry, Mark, but I mean TV reporters, was a really gentleman and a fine person. And it's easy to see when you love a place where you were born and raised that you certainly don't want to abuse it. So that's a real heartache for me to see that gentleman pass on. But his family knows that he was beloved in the Orlando area. So God's blessings to you. I do want to compliment our international affairs update this morning, Mayor, and to see that we're more proactive than reactive than we used to be in all the things that are happening. But on the 17th through the 19th, I was in D.C. with the National League of Cities Advisory Board. We're the people who used to serve on the board. Then we go to an advisory council. And one of the things we were doing there was putting together our agenda for Phoenix. And one of the agenda items is EB5. So the National League of Cities will be taking that up. We worked on it in the Immigration Task Force, but dealing with job creation and stabilizing our economy through EB5 is just something I was happy to see on the report this morning and thought I would comment it this afternoon. So thanks that we're moving forward. I did not want to see Orlando move out of our position of being a very, very strong international partner and pushing forward to world trade, no matter whether it's China, Brazil, or whatever. Brazil keeps our, what do you call those, shopping centers going. They have the biggest shoppers in the world. So we are very, very thankful for their coming into Orlando, shopping, and for trade with that country. Now on to just a couple of other items I think I had. I'll make sure I covered those. I want to say a special thanks. This went to a celebration Saturday, the Mercy Drive Summer Enrichment Camp that I've begun to partner with. It's on science and engineering at 1780 Mercy Drive. It used to be at the center there. You're talking about young men and women focusing on science and engineering. Paul Griffin is doing a great job. So I want to say a real special thanks, and we'll talk some more about it because next year we want to help them out too. I want to also say a real special thanks to Gennaro, Thomas, and Gamma Phi Delta, and the mayor and I on Wednesday night congratulated. I know Vernice and Veronica are here. we wanted to identify women in unique positions, and it's called Women in Business Against All Odds. Some of the things these women do really have been, as Janera said, crushing the ceiling for them and getting things done. So congratulations, Bernice and Veronica, Dr. Ola Nadi, and a whole group of women, including Dorsey. It was just a wonderful event at Drafts. I thank Mayor Dyer for partnering with us. And on things like that, we always have a great partnership. And I think that's the right thing to do. So congratulations to you guys. And all the other women, I think there were 9 women. I know there were 9 women. And thanks to Janera, who's a great, great cheerleader for the city of Orlando. Now for the agenda, I want to pull one thing out, and that was H3, live at 5, starting, oh God, I forgot to put the date down. I think it's September 10th. Is that a Friday? Corey Lamb and all the guys, the vendors over on West Church Street. The streets will be closed from 5 to 10. It's a great time to go over and walk and eat. And let me tell you, the candy lady, she has those candies, what are those things called, long boys? I mean, if you used to eat candy the way I did, well, I eat the long boys still. Boy, let me tell you, it'd be a good time to go down and buy you some of that old-fashioned candy with Adrian, go to Drafts, go to Oopsie Doopsie or Scoopy Doopy or whoever Corey is. Live at 5 is to draw attention. What's the name of the place? I don't know. Oopsie Scoopsie. Whatever. Well, congratulations. We're going to get this thing done. It's called Live at 5. You just come over to West Church Street, and any commissioners show up, I'll buy you a beer. The other is look forward to September 4th. We're having that weekend. That's MEAC SWAC. Bethune-Cookman College will be playing. Now, I know I talk trash for the Florida Classic. I'm not saying anything. I can't even remember where Prairie View is from. Is that Texas or something? Yeah. It is? Okay, wherever. So this is a great time for the Wildcats to really get in there. If we lose the Classic, we can at least beat the MEAC SWAC, I hope. So come on out. It's a very small game. We just need your presence, and it's a good Sunday game starting at 12. So come out to the stadium, to the Citrus Bowl. I think those are my announcements. Now for the agenda. Mayor, on agenda item C5, that's restoring the train station, I think that is a great opportunity. It's about job creation to me. Number one, we need to do it. It's a beautiful old station, and if we use that as a part of Sunrail, I've already asked Marcia to send that agenda item out to all of our small business people because they're going to come back with a good report. We have got to do that station. We have got to restore it and expand its capacity. So I really, really was happy to see it on the agenda. On agenda item C11 that I said I would not vote for, this is not a no regarding Creative Village. I just like incremental things. We change every time we sit at this dais. We can change something. But if it's not in writing, I'd like to at least vote on stuff in writing that gives me a little more comfort for me. I have an individual vote. I like to vote. We've already got $2 million invested in that. I think the partners have 1 point some million, and that's going to be great. And I like the idea because it's job creation. These small businesses need the jobs. That's going to help demolish that facility. But I liked things incrementally, and I would like to be able to tell the community I represent what's going to happen, and this doesn't do that. I think also, Mayor, I was able to talk to Rick about I-7, that contract situation, and all the years I brought up this issue. Rick Howard was the first person to share with me, well, not the first, to be very sensible about watching how he and his team watch contracts that come in so low, below the projected estimate, and how he's going to do that. That was very comforting. I know he's going to do it. So that issue was resolved. But there's another job creation, and that's in Goa. We read Gore's matters, and we vote on them, but when I'm looking at $6.6 million in taxiways and runways, I am sending that agenda item out to all small businesses too. I know everybody doesn't do horizontal construction, but there may be opportunities. And $6.6 million in federal grants, that's a lot of money, can go a long way. So I am absolutely pleased. You small businesses out here, Vernice, Veronica, straight up telling you, you better jump to it. You may be the first ones to hear it before it hits the email that I'm sending out this afternoon. Call, go, and see what you've got. I hope you guys are certified out there to get some of this work. And Mayor Dyer is on that board, so give him a call, email him. Y'all do it to me, so hook him up. I think that is it, Mayor, for the agenda. Thank you.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Ortiz, second by Commissioner Stewart. All in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. We will, let's recess the city council meeting without objection, and we will convene the CRA meeting. Thomas, you're up.
Thank you, Mayor
Give
Dyer.
everybody just a second to scatter. Thomas, does that make you feel bad? You get up there and everybody leaves?
It did for the first 3 years. It's been almost 5 years, Mayor. I'm getting used to it now.
All right,
Okay.
I think we're good.
All right. Thank you, Mayor Dyer, and good afternoon to you and the other members of the council and this CRA board. Item number 1 today is adoption of the fiscal year 2011-2012 Community Redevelopment Agency budget and budget resolution. You'll recall, and from the documents you've seen, of course, we've experienced 2 years of double-digit revenue decreases, and though the budget projections for total revenues for the coming year still extend that trend of decrease, we're encouraged, Mayor and members of this commission, that the decrease is projected to be less than half of what last year's was. The last 2 years were 18% and 12% respectively. The projected decrease for the coming year is 5.3%. We hope that means that the worst is over and that trend is softening and that we're stabilizing in revenues, and in the next 2 to 3 years can see revenues go back to a positive growth. Of course, operational expenses for the CRA and DDB remain flat during this time, and the total revenue expected or projected for next year at this time is a little over $24.4 million. Therefore, staff is requesting that the CRA approve the fiscal year 2011-2012 Community Redevelopment Agency budget and adoption of the resolution. As is the case every year, the tax increment fund revenue and contingency numbers will be revised upon receiving the DR 422 from the Orange County Property Appraiser's Office as a certification of final taxable value. I'd like to point out the CRA Advisory Board recommended approval of the budget via adoption of the budget resolution on August 24th of this year.
Mayor, I'm going to move approval, but I do have some comments when we come back for discussion.
Okay. Motion and a second to adopt the fiscal year 2011-12 CRA budget and budget resolution. Commissioner Lynham, you're recognized.
You know, last year when we did the same thing, I was feeling very sorry for Thomas since he had no money. And I still feel sorry for you in CRA because you have no money. And not only that, we've got the very thing that moves CRA, our taxes. It's $16 million, and our debt service, 18. And that, to me, just shows how decimated our CRA funds have been. And I'm just very hurt by it. You have been flat on everything. You've been very prudent, but you had to be. You're one of the, and it's not funny, it's kind of sad. It makes me want to cry because I've depended on CRA since I've been in office to help move the needle for Paramore without moving all of its indigenous people out. I think a community can be revitalized and keep its original community to the most part. And I am saying that to have a debt, it's like my bills, and my income is less than my bills. Even though you have some other revenue opportunities here, it's just the primary one when you're falling short and there's a negative is very, very painful for me to discuss here as a person who represents the area where the original boundaries were drawn and depended on and described as blight and slum, to still see it blight and slum, and then to have no money, hardly. You said it should go up. I mean, it should look more, well, more positive, and I'm going to look to that, but it's a very, very disheartening feeling for me and very, very sad time for me and my district.
Okay.
Commissioner Diamond.
Thank you. I'm also concerned when I saw this and saw the taxes coming in were about $16 million and the debt payments for the year were about $18 million, and it's no different than a homeowner who's making less every month than his mortgage payment is. And after you pay the debt service, you still got to pay your staff, you still got to pay for whatever else you got to do. And I'm very concerned about that. I'm very concerned about the long-term trend and what that means as far as the drains on reserves and then the ultimate obligations of the general fund that have happened and that may happen. And, you know, I met with Thomas and Pat Delacona last week. I appreciate their time. And, you know, I don't envy you. I think you've got a lot of challenges ahead of you. And I'm concerned about this budget. I'm concerned about the long-term trend. And I'm concerned where this is going. And as a result, I am not going to support it. Thank you.
Commissioner Ortiz.
Thomas, I want to thank you, first of all, for coming to my office and explaining this to me. I want to reiterate my commitment with you guys because I think you guys are doing a tremendous job. I appreciate your being so conservative when you guys are doing your numbers. And I just wish we continue explaining this to the community. As a matter of fact, one of you guys came over to one of our meetings. The community was very impressed, very happy to see what's happening downtown and how we're doing things. So I want to commend you and your team for doing this, and by all means, we're supporting your efforts.
Thank you, sir.
Further discussion, hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? No. Motion carries 6-1. Number 2, Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item number 2 is approval of the fiscal year 2011-2012 Downtown Development Board Community Redevelopment Agency Cost Share Agreement. The cost share agreement between the CRA and the DDB outlines the terms under which the DDB and CRA share administrative cost. The cost share agreement for staffing this year is, next year is projected at $378,900 per agency. This cost share agreement also facilitates the transfer of funds for the marketing, downtown concert series, as well as the operations associated with the Downtown Orlando Information Center. Staff is requesting CRA approval of the cost share agreement for fiscal year 2011-2012 between the DDB and the CRA, and authorization for the chair and executive director to execute the agreement subject to review and approval by the City Attorney's Office. The CRA Advisory Board recommended approval of the agency cost share agreement on August 24th of this year.
Is there a motion to approve?
Move approval.
Motion by Commissioner Stewart, Commissioner Lineham. I'll take that as the second. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Number 3, Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Item number 3 is approving the fiscal year 2011-2012 City Services Agreement between the City of Orlando and the Community Redevelopment Agency. The City Services Agreement outlines the terms under which the city provides administrative and professional support to the CRA as we implement the Community Redevelopment Plan. The total amount for fiscal year 2011-12 is $745,289. Staff is requesting CRA approval of the City Services Agreement for fiscal year 2011 and 2012 between the City of Orlando and the Community Redevelopment Agency, and authorization for the Chair and Executive Director to execute the agreement subject to review and approval by the City Attorney's Office. The CRA Advisory Board recommended approval of the City Services Agreement August 24th of this year.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Sheehan, second by Commissioner Stewart. Okay, each of the commissioners that represent part of the CRA got one of those motions. That's great. Discussion among commissioners. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Number 4.
Thank you. Item number 4 is approving Seniors First Incorporated Agreement for fiscal year 2011-2012. The annual agreement between Seniors First and the Community Redevelopment Agency to provide senior transportation service, known as Senior Tran, to residents of 11 downtown senior housing complexes expires on September 30th of 2011. Funding levels for the 2011-2012 agreement remain the same as the current year at $46,242. Staff is requesting that the CRA approve the renewal of the agreement for the period of October 1, 2011 to September 30th, 2012 for up to an amount of $46,242 and authorization of expenditures from the Downtown Orlando Community Redevelopment Area Trust Fund subject to review and approval by the City Attorney's Office and authorization and execution of the agreement by the Chairman and the Executive Director. CRA Advisory Board approved at its meeting on August 24th.
Move approval. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Lineham, second by Commissioner Sheehan. Is there any discussion among commissioners? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Number 5, Thomas.
Thank you. Item number 5 is approving the Central Florida Urban League Community Redevelopment Agency funding agreement. With this office, of course, as you know, now being in the heart of Paramount, the CRA is seeking to have the Central Florida Urban League continue with their programs designed to help CRA achieve some of its redevelopment plan objectives. Those objectives include increasing employment by offering job training to residents of the area and providing youth education and crime prevention programs in the Paramore community to encourage neighborhood stability. Additionally, CFUL will provide homebuyer education for CRA residents and those seeking to locate within the area. The funding agreement provides for $25,000 for the fiscal year 2011-2012 to the Central Florida Urban League to operate such programs and provides performance benchmarks which must be achieved. Staff is requesting that CRA approve the Central Florida Urban League funding agreement and authorization of expenditures from the Downtown Orlando Community Redevelopment Area Trust Fund of up to $25,000 for such project, subject to review and approval by the City Attorney's Office, and authorize execution of the agreement by the Chairman and the Executive Director. The CRA Advisory Board recommended approval at its meeting on August 24th.
Move approval. Gosh.
Motion by Commissioner Lineham, second by Commissioner Stewart. Discussion among commissioners. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed. Got your vote, Commissioner Ings.
I forgot he was there.
Okay, good. All right. Any further business to come before the CRA?
There's none, Mr. Chairman.
Then we will adjourn the CRA meeting and reconvene the City Council meeting without objection. And we will move to new business, and this is a good news item. This is a public hearing for the disposition and sale of city property valued in excess of $500,000 as required by Chapter 13, Section 7 of the City Charter. Notice of the hearing appeared in the Orlando Sentinel on August 23, 2011, and approval of the sale will require a majority vote of all members of the City Council. Title to the property is held in the name of the City of Orlando and the OUC. Property is being sold. The property that's being sold is a former OUC administrative building located at 500 South Orange Avenue. The proposed buyer is GDC Properties, LLC. On August the 23rd, OUC approved the contract to sell the property for $2.8 million to GDC. It's actually a very good use of that building. I mean, I thought we eventually were going to have to demolish that and have some other use, but it could work out really well. So, Byron, you want to describe what they're going to do?
Thank you, Mayor. And just to elaborate a bit on this agenda item and the remarks from the mayor, as you know, OUC vacated the admin building at the completion of their new home. They had been in that old structure since 1967. That created an opportunity for a revenue enhancement for OUC, and we are fortunate that as opposed to purely demolition, they are pursuing opportunities for reuse, redevelopment that certainly adds to the vibrancy of the city and additional uses in the downtown core. The purchase price, as you see in the agreement, is $2.8 million, which reflects the responsibility on the buyer for all costs associated with redevelopment of that property, be it remediation, be it reuse, all the responsibilities that come along with it. The subject property consists of approximately 84,000 square feet. I want to correct that in the agenda item. There's a typo that says 11,000 square feet, so I do want to, just for the record, correct that it's the building is approximately 84,000 square feet on approximately half-acre site. The property was listed for sale by OUC in 2008 through an open competitive process, and the property was marketed by OUC internationally through their broker Grubbs and Ellis. GDC is the highest remaining offer, and this process is the best indicator of fair market value, given that it was through a very open process and through discussions to determine what indeed would be a reasonable offer on that a reasonable buyer would accept. The city is not party to the agreement per se, nor are you approving the deal points per se. Rather, the property is held in the name of the City of Orlando and OUC. Thus, this agreement is seeking to your approval to requires the city to execute the conveyance of the documents at closing, and this will ensure clear title. Closing will not occur until the due diligence period has been successfully completed, and the agreement between OUC and GDC anticipates a 60-day due diligence process. We'll point out that this due diligence process includes city action on the rezoning of the property. The applicant will be seeking plan development zoning and amendment to their PD zoning, and they submitted the application scheduled to hit MPB sometime in October, I believe, October meeting. The GDC Properties proposes to restore and renovate the building by providing a boutique hotel. This boutique hotel is anticipated at this point in time, as they had the process, a 119-room hotel. We'll have a small coffee shop on the ground floor, a pool, an outdoor seating area for some feeding as well on that first floor, the exterior of the building. So in closing, I just want to reiterate, this agenda item is seeking council action to approve execution of the conveyance documents, which then will allow OUC and GDC to proceed with the comfort of knowing that they can consummate the agreement subject to successful completion of the due diligence process.
Thank you, Byron. This is a public hearing, so we will hear from anyone from the public who wishes to speak. Is there anyone that would like to speak? Okay, we will close that. Then is there a motion to approve?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Stewart, second by Commissioner Sheehan. Discussion. All in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Hearings, ordinances, second reading. Madam Clerk, number 1.
An ordinance of the City of Orlando, Florida, amending the planned development zoning district designation for certain real property generally located north of West Cayley Street, south of West Gore Street, east of South Division Avenue, and west of South Orange Avenue, commonly known as the Orlando Health Plan Development, comprised of 54 acres more or less, providing amended conditions of the planned development district, directing amendment of the official zoning map, providing for severability, correction of scrivener's errors, and an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Sheehan, second by Commissioner Diamond. Is there anyone from the public who would like to testify on this matter? Discussion among commissioners. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Number 2, Madam Clerk.
An ordinance of the City of Orlando, Florida, vacating, closing, and abandoning portions of East Rollins Street and North Orange Avenue, providing for severability, correction of scrivener's errors, and an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Stewart, second by Commissioner Sheehan. Is there anyone from the public like to testify on this matter? Discussion among commissioners. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Number 3, Madam Clerk.
An ordinance of the City of Orlando, Florida, changing the zoning classification from PD to AC3 on certain real property generally located along the southeast side of Major Boulevard, south of Vineland Road, backing up to I-4 and the Florida Turnpike, and addressed as 5725 Major Boulevard, comprised of 25.3 acres more or less, amending the city's official zoning map as initiated by the property owner, providing for severability, correction of scrivener's errors, and an effective date.
Motion by Commissioner Ing, second by Commissioner Lineham. Is there anyone from the public who would like to testify on this matter? Discussion among commissioners. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Number 4, Madam Clerk.
An ordinance of the City of Orlando, Florida, relating to the Land Development Code, amending Chapter 65 Orlando City Code relating to the appearance review of certain development in downtown Orlando, substantially revising provisions relating to the DDB Development Review Board, establishing the Appearance Review Board, providing duties, powers, and responsibilities of the board, providing for membership and jurisdiction of the board, providing staff support to the board, requiring a certificate of appearance approval for certain development, providing procedures and standards of review for certificates of appearance approval, providing for severability, repeal of conflicting ordinances and actions, codification, correction of scrivener's errors, and an effective date.
So moved.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Sheehan, second by Commissioner Lineham. Is there anyone from the public who would like to testify on this matter? Discussion among commissioners. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? So the motion carries. Let's move to ordinances on first reading. Madam Clerk.
An ordinance of the City of Orlando, Florida, amending an ordinance that vacated, closed, and abandoned portions of East King Street and Spruce Street, both generally located between Interstate 4 and Dade Avenue, removing an outdated condition of abandonment relating to the dedication of right-of-way for a light rail corridor, providing for severability, correction of scrivener's errors, and an effective date.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Stewart, second by Commissioner Ortiz. Is there anyone from the public who would like to testify on this matter? Discussion among commissioners. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the motion carries.
No general appearances, Mayor.
All right, we have no general appearances, so without objection, we are adjourned.